Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Dragon Ball Nation. Now today I'm going to be giving you guys another Dragon Ball Super review. Today it's episode 52, and it was a pretty good episode. Not really any action, but that's okay to have non-action packed episodes when they're done well and when they show character emotion and a little bit of depth, and that's what this episode did. It is titled Master and Pupil Reunited, Son Gohan and Future Trunks. Now, it's a little bit weird because obviously the Gohan we know is not really Trunks' master, but, you know, oh well, they'll title it whatever they want. And as always, I'm watching this live, and it's translated live as it airs by Herms from Kanzenchu on Twitter. I'll leave a link to his Twitter down below. Show him support if you watch the show live or watch the show at all, really, because he helps a lot of us out. So the episode starts with Pilaf Gang actually helping out with the time machine repairs, getting parts. They seem pretty familiar with everything, apparently, more familiar than some of the other members of, you know, our cast and crew, really, which is kind of strange. And they're rebuilding it, and it appears that pretty much what everyone thought. It's not really a surprise because, you know, we like to predict things around on YouTube and on the internet, that the blue material that Bulma was developing is actually fuel for the time machine. Like, it was already being developed before she even knew that, you know, even had Trunks come back, really, initially. So, Piccolo also says to Trunks not to even bother taking Gohan to the future because, you know, he's wondering about Gohan. He's going to see Gohan this episode, and Piccolo says don't even bother with Gohan because he's not going to go in there and fight. He's a scholar and not a fighter, which is weird because was honestly, guys, when after Piccolo died in the Resurrection F arc, right, in Super, when he went to go train, was that literally for nothing? Like, was that just shoved in there for filler, or to just get our hopes up, or what? Because there had to have been a point to that, otherwise it was obviously completely pointless. It just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense at all. And I was not a big fan of that part right there. Just saying that, like, he is, you know, from what we've seen in the episode, he is being a scholar still, which, yes, it's his job, but he was training with Piccolo, he got stronger, but they never, ever capitalized on, and I feel like that's just really not bad for the character, right? Because I understand that Gohan is a scholar, but it's very inconsistent that they would even waste their time with that, right? It's a pointless waste of time for everyone watching. Got everyone's hopes up. Hopefully they do capitalize it eventually. I can accept the fact that Gohan wants to be a scholar. He's never been a fighter in the entire series by choice, regardless of what people like to say. So, you know, whatever happens, happens. But I think it was just, at this point, it seems like it was a waste to even have that training sequence. I don't know if that was Toriyama's idea or not, because we never saw it happen in the manga, obviously, because they didn't cover that part. And it's adapted from a Toriyama outline, but, you know, I've wasted too much time on that, I suppose. But I just really wanted to get my thoughts out there on that, because I think that was kind of just foolish to even have that. We do see, as we saw in the preview for the episode, there is a flashback to Gohan and Trunks in the future from the History of Trunks special. And it is adapting the special, not the manga. And if you don't know, the manga and the special have quite a few very interesting differences. The biggest one is that in the manga for the Trunks, you know, History of Trunks, Trunks was already a Super Saiyan. Gohan already was missing his arm. Now, granted, we don't see Gohan with his arm in this special, and obviously Gohan wasn't born with one arm anyways. But I'm just saying, the big difference is that Trunks in the manga was actually already a Super Saiyan, and he was training with Gohan, who was in his base form as Trunks was a Super Saiyan. So it just showed how weak of a character Trunks was. And in this episode, they're obviously very clearly adapting the anime special, which is quote-unquote non-canon, but I feel like it's one of those, it's really weird to me. Because what happens in the episode, it recaps the whole scene where Gohan dies and then Trunks goes Super Saiyan. And it appears that is the very first time going Super Saiyan, obviously. It's pretty clear that's what they're indicating. And it's redrawn all the new animation, which was cool. And Trunks has blue hair now, which, you know, whatever. If they're rolling with it, they're rolling with it. It'd be interesting to have an explanation, but I guess at this point, it's not even worth it. But I'm saying it's like a gray area in terms of canon because it contradicts what the original manga was, right? But, you know, quality aside, because I do think the anime special is actually a better piece of material, I feel like it's one of those gray areas where it doesn't affect the overarching story, if that makes sense, but it is still non-canon in a technical sense. But they're adapting that, and I feel like the reason why they're adapting that in Super is because it's obviously the more well-known version. Most fans don't even know there is a manga version, so they'd probably be very confused to see that. But it also just makes Super look a little bit strange, right? But I'm just going to turn my brain off for it, I suppose. But it gets around to the point where Trunks kind of... Well, before all that, actually, I should mention that Vegeta is, in fact, training in this episode. Like we saw him go in, I believe, last episode, he went in to go train in the gravity chamber. They never put a number on what he was training at, ever. One can only assume that if they did put a number on it, they'd probably make it something low, because Super's done that in the past with the Battle of God stuff, I believe. It may have been in the film as well. And also, Beerus and Whis are kind of, you know, talking about Black and his identity and, you know, who he is, and then they kind of plan on going to Universe 10. All that stuff ensues. But Trunks goes to meet Gohan at an, I believe it was an academic conference of sorts, and he doesn't say anything. Gohan passes him and then recognizes him, and it's all this big, you know, surprise. Trunks is completely surprised at the way Gohan looks. They sit down from ice cream, and Trunks picks the chocolate ice cream instead of vanilla, which I can't blame, dude. Honestly, guys, this is completely random to the review, but I'm very curious. Honestly, chocolate or vanilla ice cream, guys, seriously, because I don't know anyone out there. I actually have a couple friends that pick vanilla, and I think they're weird. Chocolate ice cream all the way, right, guys? Come on. But Trunks is reminiscing, you know, thinking back to Gohan at the Cell games and wondering, like, what the actual hell happened to this guy? He doesn't really, you know, go and blurt it out loud, but he's thinking it. There's flashbacks of him versus Cell in the old animation art style. Again, there needs to be, like, more consistency with those flashbacks, because it is kind of weird going from old and new animation when they do flashbacks, even so. But it's not a huge deal. I'm not going to nitpick about it, but it is kind of strange. But it's not a big deal, I suppose. But Trunks goes to Videl, I guess Mr. Satan, and Gohan's house. You know, whoever's house it is. Probably, they're all there, man. I don't know whose house it actually is. They probably just all... Well, I guess they all do kind of bunk in together, I suppose. Shows the family off, shows Videl off. Real prize there. Pan shows off his daughter. And Mr. Satan, which I always love when Mr. Satan's on the on screen, of course. And he sees the Great Saiyaman stuff, and obviously thinks it's kind of stupid, or he looks like it's kind of stupid. It's always fun to get those Great Saiyaman jokes, you know. Is there anyone out there besides Gohan who thinks it's really cool? Actually, Videl thought it was cool, so... And you know what? Mr. Satan probably thinks it's pretty cool, too. No surprise there. It must really run in the family. But when Pan gets left with Trunks in this episode to, I guess, kind of be babysat, because Mr. Satan leaves Pan with Trunks, I did like the comedy that was used here. The violent humor, I suppose. What do they call that? Well, whatever. Pan's obviously giving Trunks a lot of trouble, pulling his nose, pulling his hair, and eventually destroying the whole room and trying to take his sword, which I thought, yeah, honestly, like that. You know, power scaling aside, because obviously they're not thinking about power scaling here. It's a gag. You got to turn your brain off for that. I did like that scene. I thought that was a good addition to the episode, and it kept it very lighthearted. And there was some stuff with the Peel-Off gang. There wasn't really any jokes too much in the episode. There's a lot of scenes of Kid Trunks trying to impress Mai, and Future Trunks walking in and completely impressing Mai, and Kid Trunks is like set to the side, right? That stuff's, you know, the stuff with the Peel-Off gang, there wasn't really any gags, like I said. But if there were to be gags, they would have worked in this episode, because there wasn't any serious stuff going on, really. And I think that's a missed opportunity. I feel like this is where the peel-off gags need to be in these lighthearted episodes. Not in the moments after Goku Black destroys a time machine, they come out with a firefighter crew, you know? It's just, it doesn't work. But here, it could have worked, but they didn't really capitalize on it. There really wasn't any peel-off gang gags at all. But again, I like the stuff with Pan and Trunks. That was a cool interaction. And there's some emotion with Trunks thinking about his family while looking at Pan Gohan and Videl, you know, that whole family. He thinks back to Mai, Bulma, and his, you know, the family they had there, or, you know, their group. I guess you can just call it a family. They were eating dinner together, for crying out loud, in the episode. Flashback, you know, it made him cry and made him get very emotional. It's always good to see that fleshed out, you know. I really do enjoy that stuff. And he says his goodbye to Gohan, goes back to Bulma's place, and wonders where the hell Goku, I mean, after, you know, Mai gets all freaking blushed up, of course, again, showing up Kid Trunks, future Trunks, wonder where Goku is, and they're off going, him, Beerus, and Whis are going to Universe 10 to investigate Black Key. They're going to investigate Black's Key, and then the final scene we see Zamasu, what is apparently a Kai apprentice, I believe is what he is. More information on that, and then when the episode airs, and I believe 2 weeks, I think next week there's no Super, I believe. I don't have the reason on hand right here, but I do believe it skips next week. But Zamasu, again, I feel like this character is not black. I know a lot of people think so, and I think it's possible. But I just feel like that's too easy, you understand? I feel like that's just too easy to say that is black. I feel like there's more there. And not to mention, even in the preview, it looks like Goku's Super Saiyan 2 again, which I still understand what the deal with Super Saiyan 2 is now, why Goku's even using it. It's not supposed to be useful anymore, or it's supposed to drain too much energy. I don't know. I hope they do explain that stuff with the whole Super Saiyan 2 usage. But Zamasu looks like he's blocking Goku's hits pretty good as a Super Saiyan 2, but Goku could not really be trying at all. But more on that in my episode predictions. Tomorrow it should be up. But again, I don't really think Zamasu is black. I just feel like it's way too obvious. But also there's this whole thing about they go to Universe 10 to investigate a key that feels like Black's. Is that Zamasu? Is that someone else? Or is that the time ring? I don't really know. But that's pretty much it for the review, guys. I didn't know I was talking for that long, actually. 13 minutes. I didn't have my file thing open on my recorder. I guess I milked it a little bit. There wasn't a whole lot that did happen in the episode, but there were points that I did kind of want to talk about. But there wasn't really anything crucial. It's not an episode that you would really be hurt to miss, but it wasn't a bad episode. It was a nice, lighthearted episode, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just another day in the life of the main cast, really. It's just one of those things. It's nothing big. There was some cool flashbacks, and that was really it. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Give me your thoughts down below on the episode. Do you think Zamasu is black? And if you do, why? I just feel like, I really feel, there was another Kai in the preview as well. I just feel like that's too easy, you know? Dragon Ball is a very simple series. We know that, but I just feel like that's too simple. But it's still possible. I'm not saying it's impossible. I just feel like that's not what I would want to see. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Share your thoughts down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later.